Well, Drew, I heard the word on the street is that you got rid of your Series 7. Yes, Frankie, I did, but I didn't get the Apple Watch Ultra. Uh-oh, is somebody downgrading again? Oh boy. Ah, man, you really should have let me help you out, dude. I could have saved you. No, it's not a financial decision. It's one I actually really wanted to make. Oh no. Okay, so you went back to probably the aluminum Series 6? No, I actually went back to the Series 5. Oh my god, the Series 5, are you nuts? You must have at least got the steel model, right? No, I didn't go for the steel. Not even the steel? I can't believe I'm looking at you right now. You're too poor for my eyes. Oh no. No, I am not, Frankie. Oh? Because I got the 44mm ceramic Apple Watch Series 5, which retails for over $1,400, therefore making my watch more expensive than even the Apple Watch Ultra. How could you do this? How is it even possible? They don't even make that anymore. That's right. I found it used on eBay. Oh, okay, come on. Seriously, get real with me for a second. It doesn't matter where you bought it. What matters is how much it cost you. And your watch definitely cost way less than mine. So I don't even understand why I have to explain this Apple sheep terminology to you. All that matters is that you sent a lot of money to Apple, okay? Get real. All right, let's begin. So similar to downgrading to the iPhone X, there was not sole reason I decided to switch to the ceramic Series 5. There was a bunch of little reasons that all started to stack up. So for one, I should make it clear from the beginning, I have always been a huge fan of the ceramic Apple Watch editions. I don't know if I made it clear enough in my videos prior, but yeah, ever since they introduced it with the Series 2, I thought it was such an incredibly clean look. I loved that it was 4 times stronger than the steel Apple Watches that I was used to using, and I love that it basically matched the accessories, right? Because it's a wearable similar to our AirPods, but without turning it into plastic, they found a way to make it hardcore, super durable, and also have a very clean, minimalistic approach. I love how anti-fingerprinty the chassis is. I love the way it complements other watch bands. So ever since 2016, I have always admired the ceramic Apple Watch editions, and whenever I went to an Apple store, I always tried to check one out because I just thought they looked so dang cool. And you may be wondering, well, Drew, if you like the ceramic Apple Watches so much, why did you never buy one? Well, the same reason no one really bought these things, because they were so freaking expensive. Basically, when they were new, whether it was a Series 2, 3, or 5, those were the only generations that came in the ceramic tier, they were always north of $1,200, and if you wanted the larger size like I do, that was typically over $1,400. Yes, even if you went with like a basic sport band, these things have always been crazy expensive. So I appreciate the sapphire glass. That's why I usually opt for the steel model in the past few years, but spending $700, $800 on the Apple Watch always felt a little bit dicey to me, so I definitely could not justify spending $1,200 to $1,400 on the Apple Watch. But now that it seems you guys are interested in me reviewing older tech, and in more recent videos I was recommending to people buying from eBay Refurbished, or buying from Amazon Renewed, or buying from Apple Certified Refurbished, that's probably the safest route, I realized, and you guys called me out on it, like, hey, Drew, you're telling us to buy from all of these third-party options, but have you ever ordered from these options yourself? So it got me thinking, yeah, I do think eventually I would like to start reviewing some more tech from eBay Certified Refurbished or Amazon Renewed. And what I really appreciated about the downgrade to the iPhone X was opening my eyes to what actually can be unlocked, not just from older tech that's cheaper, but also from models or trims that Apple doesn't have anymore. Like, I really appreciate the 5.8-inch OLED display and the rounded chassis and the 3D touch, and none of those features are available anymore on the new iPhones. Yes, the new iPhones have tons of other new features that I'm sure you guys love, but if we're gonna go backwards for the sake of let's look at what's more affordable, then I also wanted to, in the same way, look backwards at, okay, what options or what trims are available if I'm willing to downgrade that are no longer available today. So as soon as I was kind of scoping around the idea of looking at eBay Refurbished or Amazon Renewed, my mind immediately went towards, yeah, those ceramic Apple Watches did look really clean. I always wanted one, but I could never justify the expense. And I was looking for the past couple months, actually. Ever since I decided I was going to downgrade to the iPhone 10, around that same time I was actually scoping eBay because I've never seen a ceramic Apple Watch available on Amazon. Also, I've never seen them available on Apple Certified Refurbished, but I have seen them on eBay, but they were all fairly pricey. Even though they've been out for a while and Apple doesn't make them anymore, maybe that increases the value of them a little bit. I was never able to find a ceramic Series 5 for much under $700 on the low end. There's usually bidding wars going on constantly for them, or if you are able to find one under $700, it's probably the smaller size, which I'm not interested in. The watch bands are all built for 44/45 millimeters, so I was not switching away from that. Or there are cheap ones with cracked screens, but most of them were still north of $700, and I was like, for north of $700 on a used Apple Watch, I just still had a hard time justifying. The whole point of the downgrading is to try to find a better deal on something, and this one stood out to me from a certified refurbished eBay reseller that had lots of good reviews and lots of product listings, and clearly a lot of people have ordered from them in the past, and they were listing a ceramic Series 5 in the good used condition, so it was not like new or excellent or anything. It was on the low end, but they were not reporting like a cracked screen or anything, and it was $409. This immediately grabbed my attention because, again, I'd been on the hunt for a ceramic Series 5 for the past couple months, so that one was spookily lower than all of the other trims, and that's when I really got the gears turning, and I was a little bit concerned because this was a high-rated seller, and they supported the 30-day return policy. You still get your 1-year full warranty, and it looked pretty legit. This did not look like a scam account or anything. It was eBay refurbished, but it was listed in the used good condition, and they had no pictures of it. It was just the Apple first-party photos on the listing. So I was really curious because I was like, this price is way lower than everybody else I can find, and they're not saying it's in amazing condition, but I've owned for years sapphire glass Apple Watches, and I know it's nearly impossible to get that glass to scratch because I've worn them for long periods and had them bump against other Apple Watches or door handles. I've even scraped my steel Apple Watch at the bottom of the river where there's a bunch of jagged rocks, and I physically could hear the screen scraping against the rocks, and I was convinced that I had broken my watch, and then when I came up to the surface and looked at it, it was perfectly fine. And I had remembered what Apple had said about the ceramic attributes of Apple Watches and how they were much stronger and much more durable than even the steel was. So I was like, okay, as long as they're saying the screen isn't cracked, and we know that they're hopefully advertising this properly, and this is a ceramic Apple Watch, that means that it's got the most durable materials, basically, Apple has ever used on the watch. And again, even if they listed this product wrong or something is completely off, I have 30 days to make up my mind, and I can still return it and get a full refund, which I'd never gone through that experience before, so I figured even if I don't get what I want, it would be a good experience for you guys because I've recommended lots of you buy from eBay, but this is basically my first time ordering off eBay. So if I go through the return and refund experience and it goes well, then I can continue to recommend it to you guys and you'll know what it's like. So I did place the order button. Also, there was a bit of urgency because there was only one left in stock, so I apologize if you also wanted to get this watch for the same price because there's none more available, I've checked, and I patiently waited for it to show up in the mail. They did clarify on the listing that it would not come with the original packaging or accessories, which I was a bit bummed out by for a weird Apple sheepy reason. I really was hoping it would come with the Apple Watch Sport Band that had the ceramic pin on the other side. Turns out once I got it, it did not. Not only did it not come in any of the original packaging like they said, but they included some third-party watch band that's, you know, it's a nice material. It doesn't feel cheap, but I can tell it's not an Apple Watch official band, and it definitely doesn't have the ceramic pin on the other side. Not that that's a huge deal, but yes, I do still have some Apple sheep in my heart, and part of me was like, ooh, that watch band is so hard to get. You can't buy that separately. You can only get it with the Apple Watch edition. This didn't come with it, so I was a little bit bummed out. But I was very happy when I first took it out of the box in this little kind of styrofoam packet because I was like, great, there's no scratches on the screen that I I can tell, and the ceramic chassis is in fantastic condition. I believe what Apple says about how this is 4 times stronger than steel, because even though it has a very reflective coating and it's kind of glossy, that pearl white is still perfection. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, and I was amazed by the design, so I booted it up right away, and I had kind of a scary revelation. So get your popcorn, get comfortable, it's story time. I get the Apple logo and everything, and I'm like, cool, it works, this is a legit Apple Watch, it's not a fake, and as soon as it boots up, there's already a watch face, and when I tap on the screen, there's a passcode right out of the box. So whoever had this Apple Watch before me did not factory reset it, and my mind immediately panicked because I realized either the person selling this didn't know what they were doing, and I'm gonna have to contact the seller and ask for the passcode, which could reveal their personal information, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to contact the seller, or if I do, will they even be willing to give me the code in the first place? Or part B, which was even worse in my head, you know, I was thinking maybe this has been deactivated from its iCloud account, so I can just hold down on the power button and the digital crown and factory reset it, but what if this watch was stolen? What if they took it off someone or found it in the lost and found and just decided I'll try to sell it off on eBay and make a quick buck? So I was pretty paranoid, but I was able to hold down the side button, even though I tried a couple numbers just to see if they set the passcode to 0000 or 1234. It wasn't anything easily guessable, but I was able to access the medical ID, which you don't need the passcode to find that information. And when I scrolled down in the medical ID, I found the name of the previous owner and that he is an organ donor. Obviously, I'm not disclosing his name, but he was a 25-year-old who was 5'10", so he kind of sounds like a cool guy. I'm about that height, and I'm 25 years old. I feel like we should be friends. But his phone number wasn't there, but when I scrolled down, his wife, as the emergency contact, did have her phone number right there. And I was like, hey, you know, this guy is young, and he had an Apple Watch at some point, which means he probably still has an iPhone, so I'm gonna shoot an iMessage text, that way they trust me. You wouldn't trust a green bubble, right, with an SMS text. I was like, no, this is an iMessage, so I can text them and say, hi, I ordered an Apple Watch off eBay. Is this your name? Am I contacting the right person? Because this watch still has a code on it. Just within a couple of minutes, the person responded and told me that they had actually ordered this Apple Watch off of eBay and then returned it, and they were assured by the seller on eBay that it would be factory reset before it reached the next person. So I told them I was very sorry and that I wasn't trying to bug them or anything. I just wanted to make sure that the watch was not stolen. And once they confirmed to me that they did return it through eBay and everything, I said that I would include that in my review of their account and that I was good to factory reset the watch. So I reset it, got it paired to my iPhone and everything, and slowly was adjusting to the thicker bezels, because as you guys know, the display by far is my favorite part of the Apple Watch Series 7. This is what I love about the newer generation watches. They're so clean, they're so minimal, they're so futuristic, and while I did always want to have that ceramic chassis, I was a little bit hesitant to go back to having the thicker bezels, so I was adjusting to them pretty quickly. But once I was using the Series 5 in more direct lighting, and I was kind of, you know, how us Apple sheep do, trying to clean off the display from all those oils and fingerprints, I realized that there were these very, very faint, kind of hard to notice, like 9 times out of 10 you wouldn't even pick them up, like water spots around the edges. They were not scratches. I've seen what a scratched Apple Watch looks like, particularly on any of the Apple Watches made of aluminum, but on this, there's something else. They definitely look like some kind of liquid that had stained on there. I wasn't sure if it was water, but it didn't look any different from, you know, if you go swimming with your Apple Watch or wear it in a hot tub or something, and when you come out, you see little splotches. I was like, okay, maybe I just need to wash it off. So I washed it off with just water, then I tried a little bit with just soap, and I checked it out on the website, and they said you were okay to try to clean it with Clorox wipes, so I even tried some Clorox wipes on this, and no matter what I scrubbed it with, those little stains would not come off. And this created the most, like, perfect real-world dilemma for me, because it's not super noticeable, okay? It's not as noticeable as a scratched-up Apple Watch, and like I said, I've been wearing this watch for about a week now at the time of recording this. Yes, I took off my Series 7 every time I recorded a video or went live because I wanted to test it out before I went public with the story and everything. And most of the time, I don't notice the splashes. Like, especially when you're inside or when you're in darker environments, you don't notice those little spots at all. You just use it like normal, and it's been a great watch. It works, the speaker's fine, the microphone works, the buttons sound fine, Apple Pay works, I've tried it and everything. It's all perfectly functional, and the display gets bright and everything. The heart rate monitor still works, the ECG still works. that's just really the only cosmetic thing that I was able to pick up on, are these just tiny splotches, and I have never seen anything like it on any other Apple Watch that I've checked out. From friends' watches, my wife's watch, she still has a Series 3 from 2017 that's stainless steel, and there's not a spot, not a scratch anywhere on that watch, and we definitely didn't baby it. We never put a case on it, we never put a screen protector on it, and despite scrubbing this really hard multiple times, I've never been able to get off these little tiny splotches. So it now starts to make sense why on the eBay listing they said that it was in used good condition. They didn't try to boast it off as like new or excellent, which I thought was weird for basically one of the most durable Apple Watches that's ever been made. And basically, at the time that I'm recording this video, I'm still on the fence about keeping it. You know, I think that the whole return and refund process is almost just as valuable, so that I can attest to how smoothly or how easy it is for you guys when I'm recommending you buy from eBay. And it's not like this was a giant scam, because they didn't say it was in good condition. They said that it would have minor signs of wear, and that's about how I would describe this. It's not as bad or as noticeable as a scratch display, and I'm also kind of curious if you guys are aware of any kind of like water spot type thing that you can't wash off with water or soap or Clorox wipes. Like, what did they do to this thing? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out. I've looked it up on Reddit and Quora and trying to find other people that have experienced the same thing, and I can't find anyone. This feels like such a fascinating anomaly for a sapphire Apple Watch display. Like, I guess these things can show signs of age. I just don't know what the last owner did. I'm really curious what happened to this thing. Were they like working with a welding machine, or were they working with like dangerous liquids that when they splash onto sapphire glass, they like permanently stain it, and there's no amount of scrubbing or scratching that can get those stains off? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a third-party display that was repaired. Maybe it broke and then they fixed the display, and that new replacement display was not first party or was not authorized by Apple. Also worth mentioning, I was pretty impressed with the battery health, because I went into the battery health settings and it was at around 87%, which, considering this Apple Watch came out in 2019, which is nearly 4 years ago, 87% is actually not bad. I was more concerned that it was going to be sub 80%. So battery life has still been fine for me on this watch, and I'm not a guy who likes the always on display either, so I turn that off, so battery life gets me through the day just fine. And the only other slight noticeable issue that isn't really an issue, it just might be how watches age or something, but when I'm in very, very dark environments, like watching a movie late at night or something, I notice that when I'm going through apps and things, the buttons are a little bit more green than gray. I don't know if that just naturally happens with Apple Watches over time. I'm curious if maybe this is an example of what happens to displays when you use them in always on mode all the time. You know, this was the first Apple Watch they made with an always on display. Now it's being used in 2023, and I'm noticing the gray pixels are a bit more green. It's not like the display doesn't work. You can still see everything and it still gets very bright, and they don't look green at all when you're in a well-lit room or outside. So it's a very slight annoyance, but I can't tell if that's just how Apple Watch OLED panels age over time, or something's inherently wrong with my Series 5. So I thought this would be a kind of fun educational experience for all of us, but at this point I have not officially decided whether or not I'm gonna keep the Series 5, because I really do think this was an interesting chapter in Apple's history. I would love for them to bring back the ceramic Apple Watches, because they look cool, they're very clean and very durable. In my opinion, they're far better looking than the steel or titanium Apple Watches, but at the same time, I would not be interested in dropping, you know, $1,400 or $1,200 on one. I just want them to release a Series 9 in ceramic that looks just like my Series 7, and then I would wait a couple of years for it to go on sale on eBay for $400, and then I'll grab it. But that answer probably explains why Apple doesn't make ceramic Apple Watches anymore, but that's why this makes it all the more collector's item to me. And I do still kind of miss my Series 7 because the display is bigger and I have my full QWERTY keyboard. But other than that, I found I don't really miss much else about it. I don't use the blood oxygen level checking, I really don't even use the ECG, and I don't really care that much about the always on display, which both of these have, or the battery health. You know, my Series 7 was not brand new either. Battery health on that is like 92%, I think, so it's not like I'm getting a substantially better battery life on the Series 7 or anything. I am what you call the average Apple Watch enjoyer. I mostly use it for notification management, pinging my iPhone, I use it as a flashlight, and both of these watches will get the job done for me, no problem, but I just know that if I was downgrading to any other Series 5 5, like a steel one, you can find those for sub $200. So if I'm spending $400 on this watch and it has some imperfections with the display, even if they're not super noticeable, can I justify that, or should I review the return and refund process so that I know what it's like for you guys? I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air, and I'd appreciate your advice or any ideas you have, like if there is some material, some liquid or something that I'm supposed to use to clean off these stains on the display. But part of me at the same time is also thinking like, well, if I don't want to keep this Series 5 ceramic, then who will? Because obviously the last person who bought it ended up returning it to eBay as well. So shouldn't it find a good Apple Sheep home in the Apple Sheep ecosystem here? Like, aren't I a good candidate for, you know, ceramic Apple Watch enthusiast who would love to hold on to this thing for many, many years? I don't even care if it stops getting watchOS support because it's a watch, and watchOS 9 was pretty uneventful in my opinion anyway. So don't tell me to keep the Series 7 just because it'll get a couple more years of software support. I don't really mind about that. The Series 3 got way more software support than it deserved, so I have a feeling the Series 5 will also get many more years of software support. But I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that I really want my Apple Watch to match my toilet, because that's what brings me true joy in life. I also really love the way it matches my AirPods, you know, all the wearables being this kind of white glossy texture. They don't sell ceramic AirPods, but they did at a time sell this, and I feel like for the price I got it at, it was a decent value considering it was basically $1,000 more than this when it was new. So it's kind of an interesting chapter in Apple's history. Also keep in mind, I never owned a Series 5 before. I reviewed the titanium one, but I didn't end up keeping it. But I did own the original Apple Watch. I did own the Series 2, the Series 3, and the Series 4. I skipped the 5, but then I got the 6 and I got the 7. So this was like the last piece of the puzzle, I guess. And I also think the iPhone 10 was an interesting chapter in Apple's history, which is why it feels cool to talk about it in 2023 and use it in modern day. And I feel kind of similarly about the ceramic Series 5, but I do find myself missing using that full-size QWERTY keyboard that I have on the Series 7. I can text a lot faster with that one. Also, the watch faces are a lot more immersive. The display and the pixels kind of roll off the edges. But this one isn't too bad either. You know, the bezels are definitely nowhere near as bad as the Series 3 and earlier. So you can tell already, my mind is back and forth. I can't make it up, and I probably won't make up my mind within the next couple weeks. Thankfully, I've got a 30-day return window to choose from. So what do you guys think I should do, and what do you think of ceramic use in Apple Watch chassis? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I'll see you all in the next one.